we all know that when we look at our own child, you're filled with utter clarity that this child is precious, right? So it follows that every child we educate in our schools is someone's precious baby. In recent years, educating children has become much more challenging. Public discourse has become more superficial. Culture has become more intolerant. Schools have changed in ways that many parents find disconcerting. Childhood itself is increasingly fraught. In such difficult times, education is still the key to transforming society. As Mike Bloomberg always says, education is the most powerful lever we have to address the problems we face. But not just education generally. What we need specifically is, first, to call out nonsense, to advocate for classical educational ideals, and to stand for moral clarity. This is critical because the quality of education that we provide to students now will determine the kind of world that we live in and that we give to our children and grandchildren. But we all know that times are difficult now, and I'm reminded of the words of a Hasidic rabbi whose writings I studied in college. He said, "We have two basic assurances. The first is that one action is worth more than 1,000 sighs. And the second is that no action for a good purpose has ever been done in vain. In the long run, it will succeed and pay its dividends." That was the Lubavitcher Rebbe. To me, this means that we need to be clear about our vision, whether that's our purpose in our life or in our work, and then to work as hard as we can. And when we are distraught, we need to keep the faith and keep working. All of us, especially parents and teachers, can be sure that the labor and love we invest in our children and our schools will pay its dividends. So in order to do our work and do it well, I think we should define what it means to be well educated. In my view, students who are well educated are intellectually curious and can reason thoughtfully. They are interesting and interested. They recognize and appreciate beauty, the beauty of art, of music, the beauty of math. They are civil in discourse, confident and driven and self-directed. Well-educated students are independent thinkers who are too savvy to be deceived. They can discern when governments are abusing power. They can distinguish between credible information and propaganda. They are what Ted Sizer called informed skeptics. Being skeptical is important, yes, but informed skeptics. In order for skepticism to be valuable, to be powerful, one first needs to know things. So students who are well educated are also wholesome in character. But importantly, and perhaps most of all, being well educated means you know how much you don't know. Humility is a sign of intelligence. So a person who is well educated, what we want for our students, does not rush to judgment, but first will study an issue before forming an opinion about it. These are the outcomes that we want for our students at HVA and for all students across the country. And HVA is truly becoming a national model of this definition of a well-educated student. And so it follows then that what school should be, and what we're working very hard at HVA, is a place where the life of the mind is given ample room to flourish. We're studying the world's great classic books, ideas, and thinkers can provide a grounding for one's life. And one of the core responsibilities of a school is that we need to ensure that students will read a substantial number of books, full books, books of lasting value. At HVA, our students study the great classical works of literature, political theory, oratory, poetry, theater, history, and philosophy. In his Nobel Prize lecture, Bob Dylan explained that his lyrics came from, and I quote, "the principles and sensibilities and informed view of the world," he said, "that he had gleaned from the books he'd read in school." He spoke about Don Quixote, Ivanhoe, Robinson Crusoe, Gulliver's Travels, Tale of Two Cities. He said, "These books gave me a way of thinking, a way of looking at life, an understanding of human nature, and a standard to measure things by." It's critical as well, especially today, that schools reject dogma and create a culture where students are comfortable speaking freely and are not self-censoring based on what's popular. That's our responsibility as educational leaders. We need to teach students that following the mob is neither cool nor sophisticated and is certainly not independent thinking. And in addition, as Dr. King said, a complete education includes both a tough mind and a tender heart. School must teach students to be good, decent people who have a strong moral sensibility. And finally, perhaps essentially, while school must prepare students for college, career, and citizenship, its highest purpose is the shaping of the soul, the essence of each child. With such an education, thanks to your support, our children will have every choice imaginable for their lives, and they will have an indelible foundation of wisdom and perspective upon which they can build a life of value.